Hello, everyone. Welcome to Only the Truth, a Mary MacIntosh true crime podcast. I'm Maureen Meehan, and today we're delving into one of Mary MacIntosh's most chilling cases, the Midnight Scribe, a case that intertwines obsession, mimicry, and cryptic messages to create a terrifying puzzle for our favorite lawyer to solve. The basic premise of the Midnight Scribe is based in true crime, as all of my novels are. It's a cunning copycat killer, drawing inspiration from other infamous murderers, leaving behind cryptic, handwritten letters and coded messages. As now FBI's consultant, Mary MacIntosh has been asked to assist the profilers at the FBI in trying to solve who is the Midnight Scribe. This man killed many people, and he did it based on mimicking other true crimes in nature. So starting with Jack the Ripper and continuing down, I want to let the readers know that the Midnight Scribe is dedicated to all victims of violent crime. The tragedies that affect millions of people worldwide, they are unacceptable. But keep in mind, women are most at risk of being victims of violent crime, shy of gang-related harm. Women tend to serve in the roles of loving, supportive people, making women vulnerable, unfortunately. So we are starting with the first chapter of The Midnight Scribe, Edgar Allan Poe, who lived from 1809 to 1848. He was a legendary American writer, poet, editor, and literary critic, known for his macabre and gothic works that shaped modern horror, mystery, and detective fiction. He attended the University of Virginia in 1826, but had to leave due to his gambling debts. His literary career took off, though, as a result, as he was a published poet and author by 1827, just 1 year after having to quit college. His breakthrough novel was published in 1841, entitled The Murders in the Rue Morgue, and considered by many as the first modern detective story. Next was The Raven in 1845, which brought him national fame. The Midnight Scribe is obsessed with Edgar Allan Poe, and he chooses to kill in a very selective fashion, staging this murder scene as if it was Edgar Allan Poe that he killed. And he stages it like he would in the novel The Murders in the Rue Morgue. Next up, the Midnight Scribe kills Jack the Ripper fictionally, stages the crime to look like old school London in the fog of the night, leaving a body in the middle of the streets of Baltimore, very much staged, like Jack the Ripper would have killed. The next murder in the Midnight Scribe is Cleopatra. Cleopatra was the ruler of ancient Egypt. She was born in 69 BCE in Alexandria, Egypt, and she was the prodigy of two very famous leaders prior to her. She famously aligned herself with Julius Caesar to secure her throne, and after Caesar's assassination in 44 BCE, she aligned herself with Antony, which again left her as the queen of Egypt for quite some time. But the Midnight Scribe kills a woman that looks like Cleopatra and stages a crime scene to look like ancient Egypt. Next, the Midnight Scribe is obsessed with Ernest Hemingway. who was alive from 1899 to 1961. He was an American novelist, short story writer, and journalist known for his spare prose and adventurous life. In fact, Ernest Hemingway wrote A Farewell to Arms in my hometown of Sheridan, Wyoming, staying at the infamous Sheridan Inn, which Mary MacIntosh writes about frequently in her novels. But the Midnight Scribe chooses to murder a man and stage it looking like a library that Ernest Hemingway would have written his novels, which there were many, many Pulitzer Prize winnings as a result. The next in this series of the Midnight Scribe obsessions was Vincent van Gogh, who was alive from 1853 to 1890, and he's one of history's most celebrated painters, known for his emotional intensity and innovative use of color. Most people know that he cut off his right ear, was schizophrenic, or at least mentally ill, and he had 21,000 pieces of artwork upon his death. Well, the Midnight Scribe kills a man and stages it looking like an art gallery with splattered paint everywhere, and Vincent van Gogh's replica. Next was Albert Einstein, who was alive from 1879 through 1955, a theoretical physicist whose groundbreaking work transformed our understanding of the universe. Known as the father of modern physics, he developed the theory of relativity and contributed to quantum mechanics, thermodynamics, and cosmology. His intellectual genius and moral philosophy have made him an enduring symbol of human potential and curiosity. He was born in Germany, and he was, as a little boy, curious about mathematics and science, but he struggled in formal schooling due to the rigid structure. He was very much needed to learn as you go, kind of a kid. He was brilliant, though, and he introduced the theory of relativity and the famous equation E equals mc squared, which everyone has heard about. Well, the Midnight Scribe was also obsessed with Albert Einstein, and he killed and staged it as a laboratory, like a science lab, in this novel. Last but not least is Marilyn Monroe, who was alive from 1926 through 1962, and she was one of Hollywood's most iconic stars, known for her beauty, charm, yet her vulnerability as a woman. She had a glamorous persona, but her life was fraught with personal struggles, making her a tragic figure in popular culture. Her mysterious death continues to captivate the public and fuel conspiracy theories. She was born as Norma Jean Mortensen, and she became a troubled child, was in foster homes and orphanages, but she rose to stardom in 1950 with films like Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, Some Like It Hot, and The 7-Year Itch. She was the blonde bombshell and iconic in her time. She was also known to have been married to Joe DiMaggio and Arthur Miller, but the biggest rumor that surrounds Marilyn Monroe was her ties to JFK and the speculation that she was having an affair with John F. Kennedy when he was president, and perhaps she was killed by Secret Service, FBI. Not quite sure, but that has been a mystery that's held the test of time since 1962 when JFK was in office as president. The Midnight Scribe is obsessed with Marilyn Monroe, not only for her beauty and charm, but for the fact that she was able to likely bed a president who was married to a Jacqueline Onassis, which in and of herself was a very famous woman. The Midnight Scribe stages her murder scene in a bedroom with pill bottles. The victim is naked, and there's alcohol and pill bottles on the nightstand, staging it to look like Marilyn Monroe's overdose, or whatever you want to call it. The Midnight Scribe is one of Mary MacIntosh's best novels. It's extremely creative in the murder scene, and I would invite you to enjoy reading this book. It's not a long read, but it is, in my opinion, a good one. I'm going to read you a few reviews of The Midnight Scribe. It has done very well in the bookstores to date. This is by Michael Cavavinci, January 2nd, 2025. Pretty recent 5-star review. In The Midnight Scribe, Maureen Ann serves up another intriguing tale that seamlessly blends suspense, mystery, and the thrill of high-stakes investigation. The novel guides readers through a suspenseful narrative following former prosecuting attorney Mary MacIntosh as she partners with FBI profiler John Douglas to pursue a cunning and ruthless serial killer. When Mack decides not to seek re-election as a prosecuting attorney in Sheridan, Wyoming, her life takes an unexpected turn. She is approached by the legendary FBI profiler John Douglas, who was the first profiler at the FBI that focused on the Zodiac killer in the 60s and 70s. John Douglas asked her to consult with some of his most baffling murder cases that are unsolved in the United States. The first mission, a chilling murder spree in Florida where the killer leaves handwritten notes pinned to the bodies of victims, mimicking the famous Zodiac killer. Meehan masterfully crafts a storyline that keeps readers on the edge of their seats. Each murder is a macabre tribute to a famous historical figure, from Edgar Allan Poe to Marilyn Monroe, adding a layer of complexity and intrigue to the narrative. The ciphered notes left by the killer challenge Mack and John to think like a murderer, deciphering the twisted logic behind each crime. The dynamic between Mack and John is one of the novel's strongest points. Meehan paints a vivid picture of their partnership, showcasing Mack's sharp intellect and unwavering determination alongside John's seasoned expertise and analytical mind. Together, they make a formidable team, racing against time to prevent the next murder and catch an elusive killer. Mack's transition from prosecuting attorney to a consultant for the FBI adds depth to her character, highlighting her resilience and adaptivity. John's presence brings an authentic touch to the investigative process, drawing from real-life profiling techniques that add credibility and realism to the story. Meehan's writing is taut and unrelenting, and twists and turns keep readers guessing until the very end. The blend of real historical references and the chillingly inventive murders creates a unique and captivating reading experience. The tension builds with each page, making it nearly impossible to put this book down. The next review I'm going to read you is a shorter one. It was just a few days ago by Alexis. She calls this a literary mystery with a chilling edge. The Midnight Scribe blends historical mystery with modern crime, following Mary MacIntosh as she investigates a chilling murder inspired by Edgar Allan Poe. Set in Baltimore, the story's vivid descriptions of the city and references to Poe's works create a great setting for the suspenseful serial killer search. Meehan's mix of literary themes and detective work is interesting, but the story's length makes it feel maybe a tad rushed. A longer story could have added more detail. Personally, I really enjoyed the book, and its quick and exciting read is perfect for fans of historical mysteries and crime stories. This one, another 5-star review 18 days ago, a must-read for fans of tense thrillers. The Midnight Scribe by Maureen Brainard-Barnes is a captivating blend of mystery and suspense, weaving a chilling tale of secrets, lies, and deadly ambition. The story follows Mary MacIntosh as she jumps into a web of intriguing mysteries as a writer whose dark past comes to light. As Mack investigates, she uncovers a series of twists that lead her deeper into a dangerous conspiracy. With sharp writing and plenty of suspense, The Midnight Scribe is a must-read for fans of tense thrillers and creative plots. Last but not least, I will read you Stephen Max Finkelstein's 5-star review at the end of December of 2024. Mary MacIntosh, or Mack, to her friends, has decided not to seek re-election as the prosecuting attorney in the town of Sheridan, Wyoming. The citizens are going to miss her. She has been instrumental in solving several cases and bringing the criminals to justice. Her thirst for the truth is never quenched, though, and there is still plenty for her to do. When she is contacted by John Douglas, an FBI profiler, she leaps for the chance to try to help solve a series of odd killings in Florida. The murders seem to feel that each victim is reminiscent of somebody famous from history. But why kill these unfortunate individuals for that reason? The Midnight Scribe by Maureen Brainard-Barnes is another novel falling into the Mary MacIntosh crime and courtroom drama series. There have been several installments. Each short novel allows the reader to learn a little more about the frequently inscrutable Mary MacIntosh. The hard-nosed prosecutor has become synonymous with frontier justice in the fictional town. It's actually a true town of Sheridan. Learning a little more about Mac is always just as enjoyable as watching her prosecute a criminal or track down one. In this instance, we get to see her more vulnerable side as she feels that it may be time for a change in her life. That does not stop her from relentlessly pursuing justice for the victims of this Florida serial killer who has baffled the FBI's brightest minds. Seeing Mac go to work is not unlike the library research it scenes in the novel Seven. You know what's going on to put these pieces together, and her knowledge of criminal pathology is just as impressive as her prosecutorial chops. Once again, this is a relatively short piece of fiction, but Meehan is able to conclude the narrative in a thoroughly satisfying way. Always a masterclass in detective crime drama and her style of fiction. Sometimes it's more like The Lincoln Lawyer, and at other moments like C. Augustine Dupin, but the reader always knows they are in good hands. I hope you have enjoyed this podcast of Only the Truth, a Mary MacIntosh podcast on true crime, narrated by the author, Maureen Brainard-Barnes. Stay tuned for next week's podcast on Only the Truth. Thank you.